Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Pravajantamana Paityam Paitya Krityam Dvaipayano Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tammayatayo Taravo Vinidustam Sarvabhutam Munimanatoshmi Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmadi Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Varadram Tato Mamanasti Gatina Kapi. I first of all offer millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astavtarasdara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And the same again, millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our most beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astavtarasdara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and all the assembled Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, and all our Rupanuga, Guru Vargya, my Dandavat pranams to everybody. So today, we're very fortunate. We have our Gurukul here up from Navadvip Dham, and you can do a pan with the camera. You know how to pick it up and turn the camera around? Rasmantri, do it. Or you know how to do it with the camera? Just pick the camera quickly up and take it a quick pan around. I'll do it myself. You know? But I'm just saying me. Do you know how to do it? Yes. Quickly? Yes, you do. We're live and everyone's watching. I just wanted to get a quick pan shot of the people here. There we go. Very good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you have to do slowly. Okay. So the kids are going to sing the Falshruti in their own language today. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur will be very happy. Okay, go ahead.
পৃথিবীতে যত কথা ধর্ম নামে চলে ভাগবত কহে সাহা পরিপূর্ণ ছলে ছল ধর্ম ছাড়ি করো সত্য ধর্মে মতি চতুর্বর্গ ত্যাগী ধরো নিত্য প্রেম গতি আমি তো মীমাংসা গ্রহে নিজে করো বুদ্ধি নির্বিশেষ ব্রহ্ম জ্ঞানে নহে চিত্ত শুদ্ধি বিচিত্রতাহীন হলে নির্বিশেষ হয় কাল সীমা তুল্য সে অপ্রাকৃত নয় খণ্ড জ্ঞানে হেয় ধর্ম আছে সুনিশ্চয় প্রাকৃত হইলে প্রভু অপ্রাকৃত নয় জড়গত জ্ঞান হেয় চিত্তে উপাদেয় কৃষ্ণ ভক্তি চিরদিন উপায় উপেয় জীব কবু জড় নয় হরি কবু নয় হরি সহ জীব চিত্ত ভেদা ভেদময় দেহ কবু জীব নয় ধরা ভোগ নয় নাশ ভোগ জীব কৃষ্ণ প্রভু ভোক্তা হয় জৈব ধর্মে নাহি আছে দেহ ধর্ম কথা নাহি আছে জীব জ্ঞানের মায়াবাদ প্রথা জীব নিত্য ধর্ম ভক্তি নাহে জড় নাই শুদ্ধ জীব প্রেম সেবা ফলে পায় তাই জৈব ধর্ম পাঠে সেই শুদ্ধ ভক্তি হয় জৈব ধর্ম না পড়িলে কবু ভক্তি নয় রূপানুগ অভিমানে পাঠে দৃঢ় হয় জৈব ধর্ম বিমুখে ধর্মহীন হয় যাবৎ জীবন যেই করে জৈব ধর্ম ভক্তিমান সেই জানে বৃথা জ্ঞান কর্ম কৃষ্ণেরও অমল সেবা লোভী সেই নয়, সেবা সুখে মগ্ন রহ সদা কৃষ্ণ কর।
So we're reading from verse 6, the translation in English. Such knowledge is solely related to the duality of this dull material world, is fit to be rejected, whereas transcendental knowledge of the divine duality within the spiritual world should be accepted forever within one's heart, both as the upaya and the upaye, the goal worthy of attainment. So we've discussed this many times. The duality in this material world is negative, hot and cold, these duality aspect, but the duality in the spiritual world is completely positive. There is meeting and separation. There are all the different pastimes. There's the opposition camp of Chandravali, Shri Radhika, Swapaksh, Vipaksh, etc. So there's duality in the spiritual world, but that is to be embraced. But the duality in this world is deceptive and is fit to be rejected. So that's what it's saying here. This 7th verse, the Jiva is not a product of dull matter, nor is he Keval Advaita, absolutely one in all ways with Sri Hari. We've discussed this too at length. Yesterday we were reading from Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada's Srimad Bhagavatam, and all of these same truths were there in the commentary that we were discussing. So the Jiva has a particle of Krishna within him. It's a particle, and it can be very empowering, most empowering if it's turned towards service to Krishna. But that same potency can actually manifest like in a demonic way, with some mystic cities that we can cause corruption and upset in this material world through your potency. We all have a part of Krishna within us. If it's turned towards Krishna, it can become very, very powerful. But if it's turned towards the material nature, then it can become completely corrupted. It's described in Kali Yuga, we have demons within inside us. In Satya Yuga, the demons were on different planets. In Treta Yuga, the demons were in different countries. In Dwarpa Yuga, the demons were in different bodies. But in Kali Yuga, the demons are in the same bodies. There's demons and devas within a single body. So sometimes when we're having difficulty, we have to find the deva to be supreme over the demon, because the little demons can jump up, demanding some attention. But the higher place of concentration must subdue that demon. You have experience sometimes when something negative comes, how to repress that and purify it to bring it to a more godly vision? I think we all do, because this is the nature in Kali Yuga. The Jiva is inconceivably different and non-different from Hari. So we've discussed this many times also in the past. So now this 8th verse, the material body should never be considered to be the Jiva. And this earth is not for the Jiva to exploit and enjoy. It's a question of sadhan bhakti to purify the consciousness so we can come to the stage of appreciating the Krishna aspect in all this material world. Krishna is everywhere, and we have to appreciate the Krishna particle of it. If we're looking to exploit it for our own pleasure, then this is like a defective consciousness. This is a lower stage, negative consciousness. So that has to be purified to bring it to a pure spiritual, blissful stage of this Amala Prem Seva, where we're serving Radha and Krishna fully. The Jiva's Swarup is Krishna Das, and thus he is meant for Krishna's enjoyment, whereas Sri Krishna's Swarup is Prabhu, master, and Bhakta, enjoyer. Krishna is the master. We are also enjoyers, Bhakta, but that's the part that is the same as in Krishna. In Krishna, there are 9 symptoms in the Jiva that are the same in Krishna. Gyan Swarup, Nata Swarup, Bhakti Swarup, Swaprakash, Ara Prakash, Ketra Gyan. These are all described. We've discussed them all before. So these are aspects in the Jiva that are the same as Krishna, but we are Anuchit, and Krishna is Vibhuchit. Krishna has everything, but we are very, very tiny. This book, entitled Jaiva Dharma, neither discusses matters related to the dead material body, nor does it propound the Mayavad doctrine of the Jiva's oneness with Brahm. That's nirvishesh experience, where we have already come from the Brahman. So to go back to that impersonal place is very easy for us to access, because we've already been in that place. We were born from the Brahmajyoti. We came from that place. So there's an impression that we are eternal spirit souls, and that Brahmajyoti is an eternal place, Krishna's energy. So we've come from that eternal place. So there's an impression there. So it's very easy for us just to become impersonal again and go back. Most people practicing spiritual life, if they don't come to Krishna consciousness, they will go that way. They will go that way into the Brahman, into the void, into the impersonal path, for most. But this book, Jaiva Dharma, doesn't have anything to do with that. The Jiva's Nitya Dham is bhakti, devoid of material motivation. The Jiva, purified by seva, attains the fruit of that seva in the form of prem. So this is the Jiva's inheritance, so to speak, or heritage, what the Jivas can acquire. And we get this from the mercy of Sachinandan Gaurahari. So this Jaiva Dharma is the condensed teachings of Sachinandan Gaurahari. Just the same as the Srimad Bhagavatam is what Mahaprabhu preached himself, and he entered into the truths of the Bhagavatam, but they become relevant when they're digested by Mahaprabhu and given out for us to follow. We follow that those teachings. Mahaprabhu is the golden avatar. He's that person who's giving us the direction clearly in this age. So yesterday we've actually reached the 15th chapter, but I want to recap what we did yesterday, because there were many things in yesterday's reading that could have been opened up much more. And for some reason, I just went over many things. And this is like an example of how we can read this Jaiva Dharma so many times. And every time you read it, there's a new truth revealed. It doesn't matter whether you've read it 20 or 30 times. But I want to go again, because yesterday's topics were very, very deep about Shakti Tattva in different aspects. And I want to make it more clear today. And if you have any questions, you can ask me and to illuminate the text. So we'll start from page 325, backtracking from what we did yesterday, and try to appreciate this Shakti Tattva more than what we did yesterday. So I'm asking from this question here in the middle. Yes. Rajanath, there is one thing that I wish to know concerning Dham Tattva. Kindly tell me, why do the Vaishnavas refer to Navadvip as Sri Dham? Babaji, Sri Navadvip Dham and Sri Vrindavan Dham are non-different from each other. Non-different. How could we understand this fact? So this is going to be explained something. Why is Vrindavan and Navadvip the same? I mean, we go to Vrindavan and it seems very different to Navadvip. But the essence of the spiritual atmosphere is actually the same. They're non-different. It's where the Supreme Lord took his birth and performed his pastimes in both of these dhams. But the highest form of the Supreme Lord, that Brajendranandan Shyam Sundar, took birth in Vrindavan. And that same Lord, Sachinandan Gaurahari, takes birth in Navadvip, in Mayapur. So Sri Navadvip Dham and Sri Vrindavan Dham are non-different from each other. And Mayapur is the highest truth within Navadvip Dham. The relationship of Sri Mayapur to Navadvip is the same as the relationship of Sri Gokul to Braj. So Krishna takes his birth in Gokul, across the other side of the Jamuna from Vrindavan, the land of Gokul. If you go there today, you can still see the remains of the pillars that were in Nanda Baba's palace when he was in Gokul. They moved there after Nanda Baba's grandfather, Parjanya. He became intimidated by the Keshi demon in Nandagaon. That was where they were living in Nandagaon previously. So then they moved from Nandagaon to Gokul, and Krishna takes his birth in Gokul. And also Nanda Baba's greatest friend, Vrishabhanu Maharaj, lived in Varshana, and he also moved to Raval. So Raval and Gokul are very close to each other in the area of what we call Mahavan today, Gokul, Mahavan. And this is where all of Krishna's, very small, this is where he took birth. This is where Putana came, Trinavrata came, Shakatasura came. All these demons came, and the Dambanda Leela was performed there in Gokul. So these are very beautiful pastimes, but the Brijvasis were thinking, so many demons are coming here to kill Krishna, so we should leave and again go to our ancestral home of Nandagaon. So they all shifted. They all took their wagons and all the cows, and this beautiful description in Ananda Vrindavan Champu of all the wagons and crossing over the Jamuna. The wagons would float, all the cows would swim across. It's described like there was just like white ocean of Surabhi cows swimming across the Ganga, across the Yamuna. And then all the Brijvasis would come across. And Krishna was very small at this time. And beautiful pastimes when Krishna was with his two mothers, Rohini and Yashodama. And he was only 2 years old. And he would ask all kinds of questions. Oh, mother, why is that tree having so many, like a beard? Like when the trees have vines, the banyan tree, he's saying, what are all those beard on the tree? Mother Yashoda is saying, oh, that's a pipala tree or a banyan tree, Ashwavata tree. And so many beautiful questions that Krishna is asking. And then they go to Chatikara. They stay there for 6 or 8 months, and then they travel around, they circumambulate Govardhan, and then they come to Nandagaon and Varshana, and then they settle there. For Krishna's principle, his the next lila after Poganda lila, his next lila after the Balya lila, the Poganda lila. So this is Gokul, and in Navadvip, Mayapur is that same Gokul. The exact spot. When you go to the Yoga Pit today, you can see the birth house of Sachimata and Jagannath Mishra are there in Navadvip, and it's exactly the same as Gokul, non-different, because except the atmosphere is different, because there is a Vaishishthya, there's a speciality in Navadvip that is not there, that will be discussed here. So these parts I didn't explain yesterday as I read through, but this is all part of our appreciation of the non-difference between Vrindavan and Navadvip, and Mayapur especially, it's saying. The relationship of Sri Mayapur to Navadvip is the same as the relationship of Sri Gokul to Braj. Mayapur is the Mahayogpit, the great place of meeting of Navadvip. According to the shloka, Chanakalo of Srimad Bhagavatam 7.9.38, the plenary avatar of Bhagavan who appears in Kali Yuga, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is covered. And similarly, his holy abodes are also covered. So Navadvip Dham is described as covered. It's not open. Like when you go to Vrindavan, you see Kusum Sarovar, you see Giriraj Govardhan, you see Surya Kund, you see Radha Kund, you see Pavan Sarovar, you see Nandagan, you see all the different places. But I'm not even sure 100% exactly where Varshana is in Goradam. I know where Nandagaon is. That's in Swananda Sukata Kunj, where Bhaktivinoda Thakur has his place. That's Nandagaon, because when you go in the gate of that Kunj, you have Nandishwara, the Gopeshwar Mahadev. Nandishwara is there. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur wanted everyone to know this is Nandagaon. But where exactly is Varshana? So even today, but this is only 500 years after Mahaprabhu's advent. Vrindavan today is 5,000 years after Krishna's advent. So there's been 5,000 years of uncovering. And it began with the Goswamis. The Goswamis, when they went there were so many maps, ancient maps they would take, and they would uncover all the deities that Brajanaba, the grandson, great-grandson of Krishna, had established and had become covered over. But now Vrindavan has had 5,000 years worth of uncovering. But Navadvip Dham, there's only 500 years. So much is still covered over for us to explore. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself, in his Navadvip Dham Mahatmya and his what's that, Navadvip Bhav Taranga, he also writes about all the different holy places, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur is such an exceptional personality. He is the seventh Goswami, and he's uncovering the holy Dham of Navadvip. But Navadvip today is still very covered. When you go to Radhakund, sometimes it's full when it's been raining, sometimes it's just like a very small pond. And even the residents of Radhakund today, I went there the other day with Gokul, and they don't even know that it's Radhakund. It's another name, Chata something, it's another name altogether. It's not even called Radhakund. So these places are covered today. So Navadvip Dham is just like Mahaprabhu himself is covered. Mahaprabhu himself comes in a covered incarnation. Srimati Radhika as Gadadhar, he also comes covered. He's hiding his natural barbs. So everything is covered about Chaitanya Leela. And his Dham is also covered. We are so fortunate that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he discovered the birthplace of Mahaprabhu at Sri Yogpit today in Mayapur. Because prior to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, they didn't even know where Mahaprabhu took his birth. If you don't know where the avatar takes his birth, how can it be proclaimed as a wonderful pilgrimage spot for people? Like in the Christian religion, they go to Jerusalem or Bethlehem. In Islam, it's Mecca. So you have the prince in Krishna, it's Vrindavan. But if that birthplace hadn't been opened up, where would the Gaura Bhaktas go? It wouldn't have been understood. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that was revealed to him by the divine providence, we can say. Covered. And similarly, his holy dhams are also covered. In Kali Yuga, no other holy place is equal to Sri Navadvip. Only one can realize the transcendental nature of this dham is actually qualified for Brajaras. Unless we realize Mahaprabhu and his teachings, Mahaprabhu is described as our Bhajan Shiksha Guru. While we're here in Puri, we can visit his place, the Gambhira. Mahaprabhu lived here for 18 years in Puri, non-stop, and 12 years, the last 12 years of his stay here in Puri, were very intensely tasting that Madanakya Mahabhav, or that Vipralamba Bhav of Sri Radhika, in the Gambhira here for 12 years. And when you see that little tiny room that he could only lie across diagonally, and he stayed there for 18 years, it's amazing. So we can see these places here in Puri Dham and understand who is this personality. This is who we're following in this age. Only one can realize the transcendental nature of this dham is actually qualified for Brajaras. From an external material point of view, both Brajadham and Navadvip appear to be mundane. You go to Vrindavan, it's full of pigs. You go to Navadvip, there's Muslims everywhere. You know, it's like, it's a different sort of climate, right? You wouldn't think necessarily it's a holy place. You have all kinds of riots and mafiosa and all kinds of stuff, right? So this is all there. You know, it's covered. This is the covering of the Dharma. But if we have knowledge from this Jaiva Dharma, we can see through that rubbish, and we can see to the heart of the transcendental nature of this Dharma, the real Dharma. If we're chanting nicely, if we're reading nicely, if we're hearing nicely, having kirtan, following Mahaprabhu, then we can penetrate this mundane covering. Otherwise, we get lost in it. We'll start to think it's just like something mundane. Only those whose spiritual eyes have, by some good fortune, been opened can see the Dharma as it is. So we are praying for that fortune to see the Dharma as it is. So we are following carefully the instructions and guidance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So our eyes will be opened sufficiently to appreciate the Holy Dharma, and then we can teach other people about the special nature of the Holy Dharma. Rajanath, I want to know the Swarup of this Navadvip Dharma. This chapter is all about Shakti Tattva. Everything is about Shakti. It's talking about Krishna's energies. We had Shakti Tattva direct at the beginning of the chapter. Now this is Rasa Tattva at the end of this chapter. So this is all demonstrating the quality of Shakti. Shakti is manifesting from Shaktiman. It's coming from the source, just like the heat is like the energy, the Shakti of the sun. So there are two. There is the sun, that is like Krishna, and then there is the energy of the sun, that is Shakti, that is in the form of Sri Radhika. So this is what's being discussed here in this particular chapter. This is in the Dasamula section. We didn't read the verse today, but that's okay. We can read it another time. Okay. Babaji, Golok, Vrindavan, and Swetadweep are the inner compartments of Paravyom, the spiritual sky. Paravyoma is the spiritual sky. Sri Krishna's Swakiya Leela takes place in Golok. His sweetest pastimes take place in Gokul. In Gokul, he's born from Mother Yashoda's womb. In Gokul is the home, the family of the Brijvasis. That's their first home. And then later on, they go to Nandagan and Varshana. But their first home is Gokul. And then, if that's like a sort of planetary mandal, we can say mandala, the peripheral of that is called Golok. So there's Gokul in the center and Golok. It's like Putana. She was given the destination of a maidservant in Golok, not in Gokul. So what's that? Labhe Gatri Tatayam, this Aho Bakiyam Stanakala Kutam, Jighamsa Yapai, Yadapi Sadvi, Labhe Gatim Datri, Asutotaram Ya, Kalam Nayama, Rajema. This Datri is a nursemaid. So Krishna gave her a nursemaid in Golok, not in Gokul. So there's a distinction actually between these two places. They're like chambers. So there is a difference. So we're discussing now the difference between Swetadweep, Vrindavan, and Golok. So Swakiya takes place in Golok. If we read it sometime, this Gopal Champu by Jiva Goswami, he actually, at the end of his Gopal Champu, is describing how, or even at the beginning, Radha and Krishna are actually married. And because he's describing about Golok, but the pastimes he's describing are about Gokul pastimes. It's a very special book, this Gopal Champu. We have a translation in English, and I'm sure you have a Bengali translation, which sometime soon you have to read that. His Parakiya Leela takes place in Vrindavan. So when it's saying Vrindavan, it means greater Vrindavan, which includes like, this is when he's left Gokul. He's Balya Leela in Gokul as a little child, up until he's 3 years old. He doesn't engage in those conjugal pastimes at 3 years old. He waits until his Kishora age or his Poganda age. Later on, that's when he's in Vrindavan. So try to appreciate the geography of Vrindavan, because now in this reading, we're trying to appreciate the geography of Navadvip. So we're trying to overlay the two together here. His Parakiya Leela takes place in Vrindavan, and his Parishishta supplementary Leela takes place in Swetadweep. What is Swetadweep? Swetadweep is the place of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is Swetadweep. This is Parihasta Leela, supplementary Leela. This is Swetadweep. This is Mahaprabhu. So you have Goloka, and you have Vrindavan, and you have Svetadvip, 3 dhams. In Tattva, there is no difference between these 3 dhams, no difference. But for Lila, there's some difference. It's like there's no difference between Narayan and Brajendra Nandan. But when we look at the Tattva, we see the different qualities. Krishna has 4 extra qualities that Narayan doesn't have. There's Prem Madhuri, Rup Madhuri, Leela Madhuri. What's the other one? Venu Madhuri. These 4 Madhuris. Nice to have an educated audience here today. In Tattva, there is no difference between these 3 dhams. Navadvip is really Svetadvip. That's what I said. Svetadvip is where Mahaprabhu's dham is. That's Navadvip. It's called Svetadvip, but Navadvip. So it is non-different from Vrindavan. How can we understand this? Except by the mercy of Mahaprabhu and our Guru Vargya. Because we're trying to appreciate that Vrindavan and Navadvip are the same. Because Krishna is there in Vrindavan relishing the Ras Leela, and Mahaprabhu is there in Navadvip. He's also relishing the Ras Leela, but internally. When the kirtans, Sankirtan Ras was being performed at Srivasangam, this is when Mahaprabhu was tasting this Madhurya Ras, this height of this Madanakya Mahabhav. Because Navadvip is higher than Puri Dham. Puri Dham actually is Aishwarya Dham. If you look carefully, if you have vision, everyone in Puri has 4 arms. This is the nature. When Mahaprabhu here is in Puri, tears are shooting out of his eyes. This is not Naralila. This is something abnormal. When Mahaprabhu pushes the Rathayatra cart with his head that not even 100 elephants could pull. When the cart stopped to watch Mahaprabhu's dancing, Prataparudra, he called these elephants to pull the cart. It wouldn't shift. Lord Jagannath is the Lord of the universe. If he doesn't want to go, he doesn't want to go. But Mahaprabhu, just with his head, pushed the cart. This is not Nara Leela. This is Aishwarya Leela. So all the Leela, and when Mahaprabhu becomes like a tortoise, experiencing these very high states of separation, this is not normal to draw all your limbs into your body and then foaming from the mouth, eyes rolled up, these sattvic abhavs that Mahaprabhu is tasting. This is not normal. So this is Aishwarya Bhav in here. But in Navadvip, the whole time it's Madhurya Bhav. All the time it's Madhurya Bhav. We have to appreciate that and appreciate the distinctions between the two. In Tattva, there is no difference between these 3 dhams. Navadvip is really Svetadvip, so it is non-different from Vrindavan. The residents of Navadvip are very fortunate, for they are associates of Sri Gauranga Dev. One can only attain residence of Navadvip after performing many pious activities. You hear that, Braj? Many pious activities gives you the eligibility to take birth, to live even in Navadvip. Some rasa is not manifested in Vrindavan, but that very rasa is manifest in Navadvip as the supplement of Vrindavan ras. So what is that ras that's not tasted in Vrindavan? Krishna, he experiences Mahabhav, but the gopis experience Ruda and Adiruda Mahabhav, 2 stages higher. Krishna wants to taste those stages. That's why he takes birth as Mahaprabhu with the mood and kanti of Sri Radhika, so he can taste those highest stages of Mahabhav. So in Vrindavan, he can't taste those higher stages. But in Navadvip, in that Sankirtan Ras at Srivasangam, he tastes those higher stages, that Adiruda and Ruda Mahabhav. He's tasting that. So that's the extra rasa that is tasted. And it's saying here, one experiences that rasa only when one becomes competent to relish it. So that's a very high appreciation. But that's the truth of this text. Even if we don't understand that now, we can at least here where it is for future reference. This is a point of what we're reading. I want everyone to know this Jaiva Dharma really, really well. I want you to be able to go through it up and down, backwards, know the different chapters where they are. Every single day I've been reciting all the different chapters. I'm not going to do it now, but maybe tomorrow. So that we get familiar with all the chapters and all the contents of the chapters. Just like in the Srimad Bhagavatam. We went through all the 19 chapters of the first canto, the 10 chapters, second, etc., all the way through, to become familiar with the book. You understanding my English? I'm speaking quite quickly. Something, okay. Rajanath, how large is Navadvip Dham? See, all these things we went through yesterday, the same things, but many things I didn't mention, right? So it's the same text, but depends how you read it and bring it out. Babaji, the area of Sri Navadvip Dham is 16 krosha and is shaped like that of a lotus flower with 8 petals, which are the 8 islands. It's also shaped like a conch shell. It's described sometimes. So it's like a lotus as well as like a conch. And the very center of the conch where you blow is actually Mayapur. So I'm going to put this map on the screen, and this map is on my website under maps and diagrams. So you can access this and see the what we're talking about here. So there are 8 islands. Simantadweep. Simantadweep is above Mayapur. And then you come around, and then there's Godrumdweep. And then you come around more, and there's Madhyadweep. Then you cross over the Ganga, and there's Koladweep. And then there's Ritudweep, Janudweep, Modrumdweep, and Rudradweep. Ritudweep is where Radhakund is. Then after Radhakund is Janudweep. After Janudweep is Modrumdweep. And after there is Rudradweep. And they all spiral around. So it starts at Antadweep, and then it goes Simantadweep, Godrumdweep, Madhyadweep, across the Ganga, Koladweep, and then Ritudweep, Janudweep, Modrumdweep, Rudradweep, coming around like that. So when you see this picture, you can relate it. So again, like when we go through the Vrindavan pastimes, we try to understand the 12 forests. The 5 forests on one side, that's Bandirvan, Badravan, Bailvan, Lohavan, Mahavan, on one side of the Ganga, Jamuna. And then on the other side, we have Mahavan, Talvan, Bahulavan, Kadirvan, Vrindavan, Kamyavan. I missed that one. Bahulavan. 7 forests on the western bank. So this is our eternal home. So we should learn it, the geography. If we, just like the geography of Navadvip, we're touching something now, the different islands and their relationship to each other also. Because each of the different islands, they have specifically related to the different angas of bhakti, like Gautandvip is Kirtan, Ras, etc. And in Antadweep is Sharanagati, surrender. So all of these islands, they have different angas that are represented. So this gives us some enthusiasm to understand the nature of this incredible land of Navadvip, which is very covered still. It's still covered, but we can, in our minds, through the Jaiva Dharma and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, uncover it. And I want all of you to make beautiful maps and diagrams and nice paintings of all of these places, slowly, slowly, over the years, more and more and more.
I have a question, like, is it possible that you told that Barsana is not like mentioned inquiries written properly, because Mahaprabhu did not like manifest his Radha Bhav in Navadvip, so that's why that Barsana is not prominent there, because he's in Krishna mood of Krishna.
Very interesting, Gora. Very interesting. My friend Gora is suggesting, if you didn't hear him, where's the microphone? Give it to Gora. Because Mahaprabhu didn't manifest. Mahaprabhu has the potential to taste Radha Bhav.
Yeah.
But while he's in Navadvip, most of the time, he's in a mood of Shyam.
Yeah.
He's demonstrating different avatars, Varaha avatar to Murari Gupta. Nrsimha avatar to Srivas Thakur, different avatars, like in a Krishna mood. But this Radha Bhav really manifests in the mood of Vipralamba in the second 24 years of his life when he comes to Puri. So Gora is suggesting that because Varshana is not prominently understood as exactly where it is. We know many of the holy places in Navadvip, but Varshana, there's not a signpost saying this is Varshana. It's just not there. So this is one very good idea of why, perhaps because his Radha Bhav wasn't manifesting in Navadvip, because the principal point of the Mahabhav of Radha is to taste the separation, Mohanakya Mahabhav, the separate Mohan and Modan, these separation moods that Radhika experiences, which are exactly the same height of bliss as the meeting bliss that is experienced. The Madan is the meeting, and Mohan and Modan are the separation. And the degrees of bliss in both of those experiences is the same. Even if it's separation, within separation, they're meeting. And when they're actually meeting, then that bliss is extreme also. This bliss that we're talking about is when the mood, the bhav, touches the very essential element of our bodies. These sattvika bhavs are referencing earth, water, fire, air, and ether, what our bodies are made of. They're impacting those elements within our body. And that's what's causing the tremendous displays of Vipralamba to manifest, these tremendous bhavs manifest. So Mahaprabhu, he wants to taste the separation and the meeting. So he has 24 years tasting the meeting in Navadvip and 24 years tasting the separation here in Puri. They're quite distinct. In Navadvip, he's like the big enjoyer. He's Nimai Pandit. He wears beautiful clothes, beautiful tilak, has long, beautiful, beautiful hair. He has two wives, Lakshmi Dev and Vishnu Priya, and so much beautiful opulence. But when he's in Puri Dham, you'll see just a tiny little room he stays in for the whole time. So completely the opposite. So this Vipralamba Bhav is manifest here. It's very different, but it's the same Mahaprabhu, the same Krishna. This is the fascination with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all his teachings. It's the same personality. What is the inner part that he's experiencing and tasting? And we have the key for this today. This key was never there before Mahaprabhu came. Through this chanting of the holy name, we can actually understand or hear, begin to hear these topics. So, Rudra Antadvip, which is situated in the center of these islands, is like the whorl of the lotus flower, and Sri Mayapur is situated in the very heart of this Antadvip. One can quickly attain love of Krishna by performing sadhan bhajan in Sri Navadvip Dham, and especially Mayapur. The Mahayogpit, the residence or mandir of Sri Jagannath Mishra, is situated in the center of Mayapur and is the very Yogpit. The most fortunate of all jivas always take darshan of Sri Gauranga Dev's Nitya Leela. So this is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is proclaiming. Rajanath, are the pastimes of Sri Gauranga Dev a work of Swarup Shakti? So this was the topic of the chapter. Swarup Shakti is Sri Radhika. Swarup. Swa means own. Rup. Krishna's own form manifested. His own energy. Krishna and his energy. So the energy is his Swarup. So Swarup Shakti. So he's asking, are the pastimes of Gauranga Dev the work of Swarup Shakti? Babaji answers, Sri Gaura's pastimes are arranged by the same Shakti who arranges Sri Krishna's pastimes, because Gauranga and Krishna are the same. There is no difference between Sri Krishna and Gauranga Dev. Sri Swarup Damodar Goswami says, Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Adini Shakti Asmat ekatmana bhakti bhuvi
Radheho vedam gatotu Chaitanyam prakatamadhuna tattayam chaitamaptam Radha bhavaduti shubharitam nomi Krishna swarupam.
So this is written by Swarup Damodar in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Radha and Krishna are intrinsically one. However, they are manifest eternally as two through the influence of Hladini Shakti in the form of their pranaya vikar. Pranaya means loving, vikar means transformations. In their loving relationship, they transform their bhavs, they mix together, and they have transformations. They become one. They have so much affection, so much conjugal rasa for each other. It's called pranaya. In this stage, we have rag, sneha, man, rag, pranaya. This pranaya is when they become like they don't know which one is which. Krishna is looking at Radha and Radha is looking at Krishna, but in Krishna's eyes is only Radha and in Radha's eyes is only Krishna. They actually become each other. So they have no shyness, they have no inhibition between, they are like one. Not easy to understand. We can't understand these things. We've talked a lot in our classes about achintya bhav or chamatkar. Achintya bhav means astonishing, astonishment. It means we don't know what is that truth. We don't try to understand it. We try to appreciate it. It's achintya. It's inconceivable. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he talks so many times in the Jaiva Dharma about this inconceivable bhav, this mood of just like a small child sees everything new, everything fresh, you know, because they've never seen it before. They see the leaves on the trees all shining. They see the beautiful flowers, the blue sky. Everything is astonishing to them because they don't really understand. They haven't learnt about that yet. But that astonishment is how the practicing sadhak feels towards Krishna. If he has humility, he's understanding, yes, he doesn't know. Especially when we start to know a little bit of the tattvas, at the same time, we must pray for this humility. If this humility is there always, yes, I don't know. I know something, but I don't know what is the supreme reality. So I'm always astonished. Like when, for example, we see Tota Gopinath, especially you seeing him for the first, it's astonishing. He's an astonishing personality. If you look at him and look at him and look at him and look at him, he's just so beautiful. He can embrace your heart. He's so special. And so many places, especially when you see Jagannath Dev. Jagannath Dev is just booming. He's enormous. This is astonishing. This is beyond imagination. So don't approach these topics to try to understand them. Approach these topics to try to appreciate them. You can see the difference between these two words?
Yeah.
How do you say it in Bengali? Appreciate and astonish.
You don't have particular word for appreciate in Bengali. Yeah, appreciate.
Titulkota.
Bhava.
Bahova.
Bahava. Bahava. Bahava.
This is appreciate.
Ah, Bahava. Yes. In English, we say wow.
Wow.
That's what it means, astonishment, wow. Actually, back to Notaku, he says in one place, wow. He says the same word. Huh?
Right, astonish. Astonish. Appreciate.
Yes. Rather than try to understand means like stand under it. Try to understand. No, we're trying to appreciate it. Their pastimes, Vilas Tattva. Now these two tattvas are manifested in one swarup in the form of Chaitanya Tattva. Therefore I bow down to this swarup of Krishna that is endowed with the loving sentiments and luster of Sri Radhika. Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are both eternally manifest. It cannot be determined which of them came earlier, who came later. First Chaitanya was there, and then Radha and Krishna manifested. And now they have merged together again and appeared in the form of Gaurangadev. They are eternal. If something is eternal, there's no creation of it. There's no time when it becomes annihilated. So therefore, there's never a time when one wasn't there. So you can't say first there was Mahaprabhu and then there was Radha Krishna, or first there was Radha and Krishna and then there's But in our historic time sequence of the days of Lord Brahma, we always have Radha and Krishna first, because Krishna is Leela Purushottam. Krishna has come to taste his own joyful leelas with the gopis. Leela Purushottam. Mahaprabhu has come to give prem. He's Prem Purushottam. He's come to describe the nature of the leelas that he performed in Vrindavan so people can understand them. Because nobody could understand what Krishna was doing. Only the Brijvasis. No one else understood that. But Mahaprabhu has come to open it out for the whole world because of his compassionate nature, his Karuna Shakti. He wants the whole world to taste the sweetness of Vrindavan. Isn't it amazing that he wants to do something as beautiful as this? And he does it through Mahaprabhu, through Gauranga Dev. But not an easy thing to do. To touch the hearts with these very subtle, beautiful truths is not an easy mission. And the mission is still going on. We are in process of trying to appreciate the mission and then taste the mission. We taste it through our bhajan, through our chanting, through our careful sadhana daily. This is when we start to taste it. The understanding of this statement is not that one of them existed earlier and the other appeared later. Both manifestations are eternal. They are present for all time and will exist for all time. All the pastimes of the Supreme Truth are eternal. Those who think that one of these pastimes is principal and the other is secondary are ignorant of the truth and devoid of rasa. So you cannot ever put one in front of the other. They are both synonymous. Rajanath. Sri Gauranga Dev is directly the complete plenary truth. What then is the process of his worship? So how does one worship him? Babaji, worshipping Gaura by chanting Gaura Nam mantra awards the same benefit as worshipping Krishna by chanting his holy names in Krishna Nam mantra. In other words, if you chant the Hare Krishna mantra thinking of Krishna, you will see Krishna within that mantra. If you chant the Hare Krishna mantra thinking of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, you will see Gauranga in that mantra. This is what this is meaning. Worshipping Gaura through Krishna mantra is the same as worshipping Krishna by the Gaura mantra. Right? Thank you, Gauranga, for explaining that. It's very good. Those who follow that there is a difference between Gaura and Krishna are extremely foolish. They are simply servants of Kali. Not just foolish, but servants of Kali. If you try to say that there's a difference between these two. Gaura and Krishna, Krishna and Gaura, they are the same. Not so easy, is it, to actually catch it? Because Mahaprabhu, you've painted him, he's golden, he's beautiful. Krishna is Shyam color. He's dark complexion, like a monsoon cloud, like these clouds. He looks different to the eye. But what is the rasa? What is the internal exchange? When we come close to hearing that, then we can see, yes, they're the same. Because Mahaprabhu is Krishna, but he's covered with the Kanti and Barb of Sri Radhika. Where can one find the mantra of the hidden avatar, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Where is this mantra? Now, Babaji gives a very interesting answer. He says, the tantras which contain the mantras of the manifest avatars also contain the mantra of the hidden avatar in a secret way. Those whose intelligence is not crooked can understand it. So what's this verse? Krishna Varnam Tvisa Krishnam Sangopangasta Parsaram Yagya Sankirtanam Priye Yajantihi Sumedishaha. Intelligent men will chant this Hare Krishna mantra, will worship the Lord as Krishna in his golden form. Sumedishaha. This means intelligent people. Krishna Varanam, Tvisa Krishnam, Sangopangasta Parsaram. He comes with his weapons, his eternal weapons of the Mahamantra. This is the Mahamantra, but not everybody knows that. This Mahamantra, when you start to chant it, is so powerful. It can completely transform the consciousness. It can take us to such a higher stage of consciousness. Those whose intelligence is not crooked can understand. In other words, a sincere seeker, someone who really wants the truth, Krishna is ready to give it to us. But if someone wants to use the truth to exploit something for his own benefit, will be cheated. We'll never get there. Rajanath, by what method is Gauranga worshipped as Yugal, the dual form? Interesting question. Babaji, Sri Gauranga's Yugal is formed in one way in the Achan process and another way in the Bhajan process. Now, what's the distinction between Achan and Bhajan? Achan is when we worship with the body, with the gross and the subtle body. We are worshipping. Bhajan is when we internally go beyond the gross and subtle bodily condition. We can become transcendently situated in bhajan. Bhajan is the, we can say, fruit of archan. But there's a distinction between archan. Archan is sometimes like Vaidhi Bhakti. Bhajan is sometimes more like Raganuga Bhakti. It'll be explained. Sri Gaura Vishnu Priya are worshipped in the process of archan. Yes, we worship Gaura, Vishnu Priya with lamps, chamaras, etc. We're using our body to do that. We're using our subtle intelligence to do that, perform that. But in bhajan, it's not like that. And in the process of bhajan, one performs seva to Sri Gaur Gadadhar. Because to worship Gaur Gadadhar, one has to know the relation. Who is Gadadhar Pandit? Gadadhar Pandit is directly Sri Radhika, but he's not exhibiting that female form at all. Gadadhar lived at Tota Gopinath and worshipped Tota Gopinath for 18 years there. And he never came to the Gambhira, Gadadhar, because Gadadhar is Radhika directly. In the Gambhira, when you go there, only Rai Ramananda, who's Vishaka, and Swarab Damodar, who's Lalita, would come in the Gambhira with Mahaprabhu. Because Mahaprabhu was tasting Radha Bhav. If Radharani is sitting there, how can he taste it? Not possible. So Gadadhar would have to stay over there all the time. Actually, you don't see it anymore, but there used to be a huge sand dune called Chatak Parvat right in front of the Tota Gopinath. And that was where Gopinath was discovered, in that Chatak Parvat. And that was like the screen between two, like a theater, between two stages, the stage of the Gambhira and the stage of Tota Gopinath. They're different places. But Mahaprabhu would go every day to Tota Gopinath to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam. Gadadhar would speak at the Srimad Bhagavatam every single day. Mahaprabhu would listen. And then he would go back at night, and with Lalita and Vishaka, he would go over the verses that he'd heard in the day from Gadadhar Pandit. This is the history. This is just the basics to build a platform on top of this, if you can remember these truths. I think I've explained so much of this before in the past, but it's probably different now that you're here in Puri. Sri Gaurapriya is worshipped by the process of archan, and in the process of bhajan, one performs seva to Sri Gaur Gadadhar. Rajanath, which Shakti of Sri Gauranga is Sri Vishnu Priya? Babaji, the Bhaktas generally refer to her as Bhur Shakti. There are three Shaktis, Shri, Bhur, and Leela, or Neela. These three Shaktis, the Shri Shakti specifically maintains. It's the most powerful, Shri, that's Lakshmi Devi. And the Bhur Shakti creates. And the Leela Shakti destroys, annihilates. Sometimes Durgama is called that aspect of the Leela Shakti. So these three Shaktis are there. And they're all a part of the Swarup Shakti. They're all different aspects of Swarup Shakti. Because the topic in this chapter is Shakti Tattva. It's very, very deep and very thick. Trying to understand this Shakti Tattva is not easy. The teachings don't just drop off the page. I'm thinking, I read all these same things yesterday, but I'm just saying so many different things than what I said yesterday from the same text.
So then what is Ladini Shakti in relation to these three Shaktis?
Ladini Shakti is these three Shaktis, Sangvit, Sandini, and Hladini, are described as the functions. That's the term that it's used to try and understand that language. They are from the Swarup Shakti is manifesting Chit Shakti, Jiva Shakti, and Maya Shakti. These three particular Shaktis. I think you've seen that map, the Paratattva map. It has these three Shaktis on it. Maybe you have. And then the Hladini, Sangvit, and Sandini, they are described as functions of Swarup Shakti. This is what Swarup Shakti does. She puts this impression onto the Shakti that will manifest as Chit, Jiva, and Maya Shakti. There's a map that I have on the website, which is very helpful. It's called Paratattva. And I told everyone previously to look at that. So today I'm speaking to the regular audience, but I'm also speaking to a new audience that has come here today. So I'm trying to balance the two together. But I'll give you the map. So we just run until 6 o'clock. So we've actually run out of time. And this next passage is very beautiful and very deep. So I want to sit on this topic until we've gone over it again, because I think it's really helpful. So I won't be speaking tomorrow. Tomorrow is Sunday. So I'm speaking 6 nights a week. But on Sunday, I have another class. So tomorrow night, we won't speak. So I hope you understood a little bit about Mahaprabhu and Shakti Tattva. This is Mahaprabhu in relationship to Shakti Tattva. I'm sure there are many questions. We can go over it gradually. So, Jaiva Dharma ki jai, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Vanshakalpa Tarubhyas